Across the skies of America, a quiet crisis is unfolding, one that's grounding dreams, delaying lives, and testing the very limits of an industry once seen as a symbol of freedom and progress. In 2025, U.S. aviation is facing its worst disruption in modern history. Not because of a storm, not because of a mechanical failure, but because of something far deeper: systemic strain, staff exhaustion, and political paralysis. More than 3.2 million passengers could be directly affected in the coming weeks, as the nation's aviation system begins to buckle under the weight of chaos. A system on the edge. Every single day, more than 44,000 flights take off across the United States, a complex ballet of movement powered by precision and trust. But that trust is now being tested. The Federal Aviation Administration has already announced plans to cut flights by up to 10% across 40 major airports, a move unprecedented in modern U.S. history. And the reason? A federal government shutdown that has stretched on far longer than anyone anticipated, leaving thousands of air traffic controllers and aviation workers either furloughed or working without pay. What was once a finely tuned network has become a fragile chain held together by overworked hands and frayed patience. The human cost behind the crisis, behind the radar screens and control towers, are real people. Air traffic controllers working 10 to 12-hour shifts, sometimes without breaks, guiding hundreds of planes through crowded skies. Now, many of them are simply exhausted. Internal FAA reports show that 20 to 40% of controllers at major hubs have begun missing shifts, burned out and unpaid. Their absence has triggered cascading cancellations, not because the technology failed, but because the people running it can't go on like this. As one veteran controller told reporters, "It's not that we don't care, it's that we physically can't keep doing this." 3. The shutdown that shook the skies. The 2025 government shutdown is now the longest in American history, and aviation has become its most visible victim. Thousands of federal employees who maintain the nation's air safety are either home or working without compensation. The result? A safety net that's been stretched to its thinnest thread. The FAA's decision to reduce capacity was not just about money, it was about safety. Because when radar screens go dark and towers go understaffed, mistakes can happen. And in the air, mistakes cost lives. The ripple effect on passengers. According to the analytics firm Cirium, up to 1,800 flights could be canceled daily during a full 10% reduction. That's 268,000 seats wiped from schedules each day. Families stranded, vacations lost. And for millions of business travelers, crucial deals, conferences, and opportunities slipping away. Across the nation, airports from Atlanta to New York, from Los Angeles to Chicago, are seeing flight boards filled with red, canceled or delayed. In smaller cities like Cleveland, Austin, and Charlotte, connecting flights have become nearly impossible to secure. Each red line on those screens represents another American dream delayed. The economic shockwaves. What happens when 3 million travelers can't move? Billions in economic losses, that's what. Airlines are bleeding cash on rebookings and refunds. Tourism revenue is drying up. Small businesses relying on steady air travel are suddenly cut off. Economists now estimate that the ongoing shutdown and resulting air disruptions are costing the U.S. economy nearly $1.5 billion per week. And that figure doesn't include the unseen costs: lost productivity, missed shipments, and declining consumer confidence. Airline industry reactions. Major carriers like American Airlines, United, and Southwest have begun trimming schedules, grounding aircraft, and shifting crews to manage the chaos. Executives warn that the situation is unsustainable, that even a few more weeks could cause lasting damage. Disaster. The airline industry has weathered pandemics, fuel crises, and recessions, but never before has it faced a gridlock caused by politics rather than natural. B7. Airports under fire. The cuts are hitting 40 of America's most vital hubs, including Hartsfield-Jackson, Atlanta, Chicago O'Hare, Los Angeles International, LAX, Dallas-Fort Worth, Newark Liberty, Houston Intercontinental, Orlando International, Miami International, Denver International, San Francisco International. Each of these airports handles tens of millions of passengers annually, and when they slow down, the entire network slows down with them. Even airports hundreds of miles away feel the tremors, because in aviation, everything is connected. The forgotten frontline workers, it's not just pilots and controllers. TSA agents, maintenance crews, ground staff, and flight attendants are also caught in the storm. Some are now working second jobs to pay rent while still reporting for duty in uniform. Inside terminals, fatigue shows, slower lines, fewer smiles, and growing frustration. The very people who keep the system running are being pushed past their limits. The politics of flight, the aviation crisis has become a political battleground. Lawmakers blame each other as passengers demand answers. Experts warn that every day of inaction digs the hole deeper, because once skilled aviation workers leave the field, they rarely come back. Industry veterans call this a silent erosion, a slow loss of institutional knowledge and morale that can take years to rebuild. What comes next? If flight reductions expand to 20%, as insiders warn could happen, we may see grounded private jets to free up airspace, regional airports closing temporarily, domestic routes consolidated or canceled, international flights delayed for days. The consequences would ripple through supply chains, tourism, and even healthcare logistics, as medical shipments and organ transplants depend on rapid air transport. This isn't just about delayed vacations, it's about national stability. A wake-up call for the skies. The current crisis exposes an uncomfortable truth. America's aviation system, once the envy of the world, has grown too dependent on invisible labor and fragile budgets. It's efficient when everything goes right, but terrifyingly brittle when something goes wrong. The solution won't come overnight. It will take investment, reform, and respect for the people behind the control tower. In the golden age of flight, aviation represented connection, progress, and hope. But today, it reflects something else, a nation struggling to hold its systems together. Every delay, every cancellation, every stranded traveler is part of a bigger story. A story about priorities, resilience, and what happens when the machinery of progress begins to falter. For the 3.2 million passengers already affected, the crisis isn't theoretical, it's personal. And unless something changes soon, the next flight to be canceled might not just be a journey, but the idea that America's skies are open for everyone.